So today I'll be taking a complete information on what are the list of UI technologies we are having, and we have a course of what actually UI technologies and web development. So I'll be covering the list of all the technologies what are we are going to cover over here, and a bit of introduction of each and every technology. Okay, so before this, who all have to go join this UI technologies or web development programming? So the main advantage what we have on this is whatever we are going to start, it's from the scratch, so there is no prerequisite being needed for this. So whoever, like we have some people like with some medical background or financial background, even they can also start working on this, because like we are going to start from the very scratch. Okay, so the list of technologies what we are going to cover under this program are, so we will be starting with the basic of what HTML, following with CSS, following with the JavaScript, the basics, and we have a separate concept of advanced JavaScript, and following with jQuery, the latest version, following with HTML5 and CSS3, AngularJS. Okay, and between this, like within this JavaScript itself, we will be covering the DHTML, the dynamic HTML, and we will be including the Ajax concepts, we will be including the JSON and XML. So whatever the things which we needed for all the JavaScript programming, so we will be including all of those. So let's start with the basic of what actually HTML is. And before this, why do we go for this UI technologies? Like once we finish this complete training program, so what will be our state? So our stage is, for example, let's open the browser, let's say something called as google.com. So I'm just opening a web page, so you could able to see some content over here, right? In the same way, so let's go for something called as flipkart.com. so whenever we are opening these web pages, we could able to see the content, right? So on the browser we are opening the web page and we could able to see the content. So now what is the technology which is responsible for showing this? So we know that okay, there is some content is coming, but what is at the background working in order to show this content? So that is where your HTML comes into the picture. So most of the people feel like okay, the web page is coming, but you know, like at the background some programming has been written in order to show that type of content for us. So whatever the content we write or whatever the technology we use in order to show the content on the browser is your HTML, the hypertext markup language. So this is the only language which is capable of showing the content on the browser. So whatever the content you could able to see, this is what it will be. And now once you finish this complete training program, whatever the list of technologies we have mentioned over here, so once you are very much familiar with, expertise into all those, you will be or we will be in a capable position of creating such type of web pages like Google, like Flipkart, whatever the web page we have, we could able to create such type of web pages. So that is what it is. So coming to the very first technology, HTML, hypertext markup language, this is one of the language which is capable of showing any piece of content on the browser. Now if you see like this Google image is coming, a text box is coming, information is coming, at the top the button is coming, everything, the content being shown on the browser, it's only because of your HTML technology. And coming to your next technology, the CSS, cascading style sheets. So what is the main use of this cascading style sheets? The main advantage of this technology is whatever the content we have shown using the HTML, so for that we can add the beautification. Okay, the beautification in the sense like I want to add a background, I want to make the positions like either to the left or either to the right, either to the center or with the foreground color or the background color, whatever the look and feel you want to change, it's only capable of using your CSS, the cascading style sheets. So HTML is capable of showing the content and CSS is capable of adding the background feature or the look and feel feature of your web page. So now coming to the JavaScript, now using your HTML and CSS, we can just show the content, but the main problem what we have is this HTML and CSS does not have a capability of implementing the logical implementations on your code. So we couldn't able to make the code to be logical, like what if the user clicks on something, or what if user wants something like I want to do some validations, I want to read some values and do some job and all, it's all not possible with your HTML and CSS. Those are just dumb languages capable of showing the content. Now we use this JavaScript, the very simple and powerful client-side scripting language JavaScript is. So using this technology, what we can do is, using this programming language, we can make the web page to be dynamic. It is capable of reading the values from the user, and it is capable of adding some validations, adding like reading the user action, and we could able to perform some job. So we can implement the arithmetic, logical, whatever the operation you want, you could able to implement on the page. So now we combine this HTML, CSS, JavaScript technologies to make the complete web page with having all the content to be shown along with the logical implementation. Okay, so that is what all these technologies. Now if you really want to expertise on the complete web technologies, if we are really strong on all these three, you will be just master on the complete creation of your web pages. Now coming to the advanced JavaScript. So most of the people say that JavaScript is just only for validation. That is a very common answer we get whenever we ask anyone, what do you know about JavaScript? But it is not just only the limitation we have. So advanced JavaScript we have. So JavaScript is also capable of, we can implement object-oriented JavaScript also. We can implement classes, we can implement inheritance, we can implement some OOPS concept within the JavaScript. Your JavaScript is not a pure object-oriented language, but JavaScript is a partially object-oriented language. So we can implement whatever the object-oriented features we have, we can implement in this JavaScript. So within this advanced JavaScript, we will be covering how do we create classes, how do we inherit objects, how do we create JSON objects, how do we use the data between, how do we communicate between two JSON objects, and how do we use the prototyping feature of the objects, how do we handle exceptions within your JavaScript code. And we have a very major concept, something called as closures. How do we add security for your code, whatever been written in JavaScript. So all those concepts, we made it as a block called as advanced JavaScript. So now, as I said you, if we are really master on this, whatever the web page you go, all those pages, it's only written using HTML, CSS, JavaScript or advanced JavaScript only. Now other things, whatever we are going to see in future like the DHTML, Ajax, JSON, everything is just an extraction from your this. So if we are really master on this, we can just create any type of web page. Okay, now coming to the DHTML, the DHTML specifies dynamic hypertext markup language. So earlier when I said HTML, it is only the web page, like we have some predefined HTML tags. Using that you will be creating the web pages. Now what do you mean by DHTML? With the combination of JavaScript, your JavaScript is so powerful that we can create the tags, whatever being done in HTML can also be done with JavaScript. So we can make the complete web page to be dynamic. None of the tags will be added through HTML. We can make it as completely dynamic through JavaScript. So that is what we call it as DHTML. Okay, and coming to the Ajax, asynchronous JavaScript and XML, whenever we want to interact with the server and get the data, so we will be using this concept. So we will be completely covering from the scratch of what actually Ajax is, how do we put the communication, how do we get the data, how do we render every information. That is what been covered here. And coming to the JSON, JavaScript object notation. So this is one of the object structure, one of the data structure being supported in JavaScript, where we will be storing the data. Like how do we store the data in the form of key value pairs, how complex the JSON object can be. So everything will be covered over here. And coming to the XML, extendable markup language. This is again one of the data format. We could able to store the data. Now why we have to go for JSON, why not XML? So those all things will be covered over here. Okay, and coming to the jQuery, it is one of the like a powerful JavaScript library here. It's not a framework, it is a library. So it is like very powerful that nowadays in the outside organization, among 100%, like 96% of the organizations are for sure using jQuery in order to create the web pages. So jQuery is one of the library, a JavaScript library. It is again on the top of JavaScript only. It is not at all a new technology. It is just on the top of your existing JavaScript. So whatever the JavaScript they have, so what jQuery team has done is they just given us some predefined methods, so that as a developer we don't need to write all the piece of code. We just make use of the predefined methods being supported in jQuery. It will automatically and internally does the job of whatever it has to do. So that is the main reason we go for this jQuery. And most of the methods being given in jQuery are for operations on the DOM, like whatever the HTML content we will be writing. So dynamically we can make it using jQuery methods. So it is like having a lot of predefined methods. So using all those we could able to perform this. And coming to the HTML, so nowadays like all the browsers are supporting the HTML5. So again, HTML5 is not at all a new technology. Under your existing HTML4, it is just an extension for that. So they have come up with lot of new features. So there are like hell lot of features in your HTML5, like how do we implement local sessions and session storage, how do we implement cache, like how do you make your web application to run offline also. Like let's take an example. For example, I'm opening a web page of ebook. Okay, so where I'm just reading the book content. So now what if like I feel like my network has been disconnected, but still I want to continue the reading of the book. So we can make an application to be working even offline also. So that type of app cache process has been supported in HTML5. The drag and drop feature, like the canvas and SVG support. Like what if like I want to draw some graphics on my page. So using your HTML5 canvas and SVG tags, we could able to draw some graphics effects on your web page also. Okay, so those all the new features been added in your HTML5. So everything will be covered in this complete training program. And coming to your CSS3, so CSS3 again extension of your CSS2 been added with a lot of new features. Like we can make it like we can work with background images, some more animations, transformations, transitions, so keyframes, like a lot of new features been added in your CSS3. So we will be covering from the scratch to the complete advanced features. Okay, and coming to our master AngularJS. So most of you people know like nowadays like the JavaScript is having lot of libraries and lot of frameworks being developed by everyone, but among all those existing thousands or millions of JavaScript frameworks, your AngularJS is going to stand on the very first position. So standing on the first position from the existing thousands or millions of libraries is not a very easy task, but still AngularJS is. So it is one of the very useful library and one of the very demanding JavaScript framework being used in the market nowadays. Most of the people, most of the organizations are asking like an AngularJS developer need to be there. So it doesn't matter whether we are working on the front end or the back end, so you should have a knowledge on AngularJS. So this is one of the JavaScript framework through which you can make your application as easy as it could be. It's very easy to develop. It's the very best thing in your AngularJS is very easy to understand. There are some few topics like controllers, how do we design models, how do we create factories, services, like a lot of things are there. So if we are really master on those, you can just create the Angular applications. So like whatever the Angular applications we do, an Angular application follows something called as a single page application. So it is called, when we are having multiple on your application, why do we load all the resources again and again? So why don't we load as one page with all resources only once? Why don't we change only the view? So that is the concept of single page web application. So AngularJS is one of the JavaScript framework which strictly follows the single page web application feature. So it doesn't matter if you have 1000 pages on your web page, but all the pages need to be loaded on a single page itself. All the content has to be, just replace the content of one page with another page. That's it. Don't keep on opening the multiple pages. That is what the concept of single page web application is. And AngularJS strictly follows the MVC architecture, the model view controller architecture. So that is, there are like, and data binding is one of the feature. So which is like, without the major job what actually a UI developer does while creating a web page is, he will be mostly working with updating the DOM, updating the HTML dynamically. So like updating the DOM cannot be, I mean, we have to write some manual methods to update it. But now when I use the AngularJS, we have the concept of data binding, which will be automatically done. You don't need to do anything. Automatically my DOM will be automatically updated whenever there is a change. So implies among the 100% of the job, 80% of the job AngularJS it will be done. So remaining 20% as a developer, we have to write the business logic of your application. So that is the reason most of the people are turning into AngularJS. So these are like a lot of features which are making AngularJS so popular and highly demand. So as a UI training program, as a web development program, so we will be covering whatever the technologies I have mentioned over here, complete technologies, like from the very basic. As I said, people, like there is no prerequisite for this. You should not know any of the language before joining this. You can just come with a very empty mind, just be dedicated on this, and once we finish this, so you will be into a master of the whatever the web technologies we have. Okay, so thanks for today. Have a good day.